Hey, Wendy.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing
Good
well.
morning.
How are you?
How's your early morning hot cup of coffee?
It's very well. I've got my EXP glass here.
I need to get one. I have a Realtor coffee mug.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's not bad. That's the next best thing, I guess.
It is
So
the next best thing. We'll give that a good number two.
absolutely, absolutely. So thanks for being with us today. This is an absolute pleasure, and I know you're a very, very busy lady. So having you here is s- actually an honor for all of us.
Oh,
Uh,
my pleasure. I'm
Thank you.
happy to be here.
Thank you. That's really kind of you. We will probably start in the next couple of minutes, if that's okay with you. I
Yes.
can see some of the panelists there. Um, I'm sorry, some of the guests, about 20 participants so far.
I can. I see some
Mhm.
people chatting.
Yeah, I see some. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
morning and good evening, Anil, and good morning
Yes.
from the east side, of course.
Yes, it is morning here for me in the US. Good evening, Anil. I will try to follow along in the chat, so feel free to pop in questions or comments as Sam and I are chatting. We'll try to address those if we can in the chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll do that as we go along. And yeah, so Wendy, which part of the country are you in, or which part of the world are you in right now?
I live in Arizona, so on
Arizona.
the western side of the US,
Of course. Is in Phoenix or some other
in just
part of
outside of Phoenix in Scottsdale.
Scottsdale? I know that place. I remember the company that I was with earlier. The founder had his second home there, in Denver and then Scottsdale. So.
Yes,
Uh,
it's a very popular second home area. It's a very warm climate here. So it's a desert climate. It's still now, 1st of October, we'll have 100-degree days. It will cool down throughout the winter, but it's the winter months are ideal here. We'll have, high temperatures in the day of high 70s, maybe low 80s. Summer gets a little toasty for most people's likings. We'll have throughout July, August, it will get 110, 115 degrees. But
that's
for
that's a
eight
lot.
months of the year, it's perfect climate.
Yeah, and the rest of the time you have the rest of the US to travel to, I'm sure.
Explore, yes. Yes,
Yeah,
which is ideal for a virtual cloud brokerage. And especially given how much travel I do, given that we can work from anywhere. So that works out perfect for me. But also is great for our agents, even our agents that, sell here locally. Gives them so much flexibility in their businesses to sort of navigate the local market during those months that we all enjoy those benefits.
absolutely, absolutely. So great, good to know. I've never been to Phoenix though, but yeah, never to Arizona. But the nearest I've been to is probably west of yourselves to California.
Mhm.
Um, but we do have plans to go to Arizona probably in one of our road trips or road shows that we're planning to do, the property road shows that we keep doing.
Mhm.
So when we do, we'll probably connect with you at that point of time. And if you're there, we'll probably catch up as well. Of course, I'm going to see you in Miami at EXPCon, towards the end of this or towards the middle of this month.
Yes, just under 3 weeks. We are on the countdown.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think we should start. It's 2 past 7, and don't mind the noise of the music because India's in celebration. Today is a very special day for the Hindus. Today is religious day. It's the birthday of Lord Rama. So it's called Ram Nami. And so whichever part of the city I could have been in, there would be a lot of, drums and singing and dancing and all of that going on. So it's like a carnival in many places. So if you suddenly hear music, It's not from our office. It's not from the co-working center I'm in, but it's and my home was probably going to be actually in the midst of it. So
Oh,
you will hear some music in between. Um,
okay.
I'm sure a lot of them would be used to it. But so let's start, especially to our guests. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to a lot of you who've been with us before. Um, this is the real state of real estate. Go Exponential with Sam and, of course, Wendy as our special guest. My name is Sam Chopra. I'm the president and country leader of eXp Realty. I'm a chartered accountant, a CPA, as the designation is in the US. I've been in real estate for the last almost 3 decades, and I have been with eXp for about 6 months. It's been an absolute pleasure and a great experience at eXp, and I'm hoping it's going to get even better. And of course, a lot of the participants would be from eXp itself, and others would be those that are either looking at joining or, if nothing else, getting some insights into what eXp does or what global marketing is all about from an expert in global marketing. I have been uh, in the real estate business on the franchising side, on the independent side, and now on the tech-based, cloud-based side of the business, and on specific focus on agents. So there's been a transition from one side to the other. I've seen it all from the real estate side when it comes to agents, brokers, when it comes to administration. But that's what my background is. But enough about me. Let's go to our special guest today, Wendy. And we have Wendy coming in, and she's, of course, going to give us a lot of insights, as you know, on marketing. Wendy is the Chief Marketing Officer of eXp Realty. But beyond the title, she is a global leader, a global market leader at that. She has run brokerages, built brands, written and authored extensively and spoken extensively on marketing. And today she's here to help us understand how marketing is not just advertising, but a supercharger of careers. So, Wendy, let me welcome you uh, indirectly or virtually to India. We're looking forward to hearing a lot from yourself as we go ahead. Um, Wendy, could you tell us what motivated you to join EXP, and what have been some defining initiatives in your journey so far? And before that, if you could give us a little deeper insight on who Wendy is really outside of EXP and in EXP and your journey so far. If you could start with that and then give us more insights.
Sure. Thank you, Sam. And thank you so much for having me. And good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and spend this time with all of you. And it sounds like I should be there in person to like experience the celebration that is happening. I wish I was. But to tell you a little bit about myself, I have been a career real estate professional. I got my real estate license here in the United States when I was in college studying marketing. So I have a business degree. I specialized in marketing. And my motivation for that was I actually started my studies. I was going to be a CPA, Sam, like you. I was going to be an accountant. And I got into, all of my studies. I was taking taxation and managerial accounting, and really in the throes of all of the accounting courses, and not really enjoying it. And I went to my dad for some advice, and my father's always been a great mentor and guide for me. And I said, Dad, like, I don't think that I want to spend my professional life as an accountant. And he said, Well, what do you want to do? And I said, Well, I want to be a business person. I know I want to be a business person. And I think I want to be, in marketing. And I had one course that semester in college that was a marketing course. You could take one elective, the way that the program was structured, and it was in marketing. And I loved it. I loved the creativity. I loved what we were studying. And I was really inspired by it. And he said, "Well, what kind of job would you get if you changed your major to study marketing?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure." And of course, dad being very practical, as most parents
I
are,
can
and
imagine.
I'm sure many of you can relate to that as you try to guide your children
Yes.
through life. He said, "Well, if you want to be a business person, business people have to be able to sell. You got to be good salespeople." Now, the part of this story that is important is my dad is also a new home developer and has been a new home developer for decades. So he encouraged me to get my real estate license while I was still studying in college. So I changed my degree, and that summer on my college summer break, studied to get my real estate license. And I sat open houses at the
Wow.
development he was currently working. And that's how I started my real estate career. And I went back to school, got my degree, finished with my degree in marketing and in human resources, and continued selling real estate and have been in the real estate industry ever since.
Ever since.
Ever since. But the foundation of that is that sales is at the core of what we all do. And those skills of being a great salesperson is really the
Yeah.
foundation of marketing and the principles that grow all of our businesses, regardless of what type of business you're in. So we are all in, the business of real estate, right? And growing our real estate businesses. And here at EXP, we have the benefit of growing our real estate businesses as producing real estate professionals from a transaction perspective. And we also have the benefit of growing our revenue share opportunities. Same principles apply. And those principles are all based on marketing and growing brands. So it's all interrelated, which goes back to part of what attracted me to EXP is I love that we have those multiple opportunities to take all of the great skills that we've all developed as entrepreneurs, as business people, and use them in multiple different ways to grow revenue streams. Because I think of us all as business people, as entrepreneurs first, and then we can relate those business skills in multiple different ways. And I think in today's world, that is more important than ever to be able to leverage the skills that we have in multiple different ways.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I'm sorry, I'm having some tech issues. Give me a second to
Yeah. I
sort that out. My apologies for that. Just give me a second.
think we might have lost Sam. Can the rest of you hear me in the chat? Give me a yes. You can all still hear me.
Yes.
Okay, yes. And you can still hear me too, Sam?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, you can hear
I've
me.
I've sort of lost the visuals, and it's gone into another screen, so I couldn't figure out
Okay.
um, where you suddenly disappeared from my screen. But nevertheless, uh, so Wendy, I lost the last bit, but let me ask you this question straight away. Um, while your career spans over leadership, strategy, and global marketing, what brought you to EXP and what excites you most in this role?
Yeah, so I have known Glenn Sanford since the very beginning of EXP. And I don't know if you guys realize it, but this year, and actually in just a few days, EXP is celebrating its 16th birthday.
Wow,
So EXP was founded actually on October 6th. So EXP's Sweet 16 is next week, essentially. So here
fantastic.
in the US, we celebrate that with what we call Community Week. So next week is Community Week. So our EXP agents all across the US are encouraged to go out into their local community and volunteer and give back. So our agents have organized various activities with local charities and organizations to just give back in the community. And it's a big initiative that we organize the first week in October each week to recognize the founding of our amazing company, in honor of Glenn, our founder, and in honor of EXP. So this year we're 16 years old. So it's our birthday next week. So
Happy
Glenn,
birthday to us.
yes, happy birthday to us. So Glenn and I knew each other even before he founded EXP. So
Wow.
as I shared, I've been in the industry for many years, and I worked here in the U.S. And first met. I originally started my career in Canada. So I moved here in the US in 2007 and launched another real estate brand called Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. And that's when I
Okay.
met Glenn. So I was launching that company across the US and out at industry events, met Glenn. And at that time, he was an agent with Keller Williams. And just at industry events, and Sam, you've been to Inman Connect and Inman events, National Association of Realtors events. So, Glenn would attend those events as well. And at that time, technology and particular social media, and we're going to talk a little bit about social media and its impact on our industry, was just sort of starting to become topical. And of course, Glenn has always been at the forefront of, innovation. And he was, I would say, crafting his vision for EXP. So anytime there was a room of people talking about technology, marketing, digital marketing, social media, all of those things that were just sort of formulating, Glenn was in that room. And I was in that room too. And I always thought he was the most interesting person. And for those of you that haven't, had the opportunity to meet Glenn, Glenn is a very unassuming person. He's not the
Absolutely.
person who's at the front of the room. He's not the person who wants to dominate the conversation. You'll find Glenn at the back of the room observing. He'll be listening. He'll be taking in the conversation. He's very humble. He's very, I would say, almost introverted. He's not really a social butterfly. Um,
Yeah.
he's very engaging when you talk with him, but he much prefers a one-on-one conversation than a large group dynamic. So I always sought out talking with him. I enjoyed chatting with him. So he and I had a friendship, an industry friendship over the years, and we actually talked about as he launched EXP. I watched EXP grow. We had talked a couple of times about opportunities for me to join. And the timing was just never right. It just never quite happened. And throughout my journey, throughout the company's journey. And then he and Leo Perea, our CEO, called me in early 2024. And I remember it clearly. It was about 8 o'clock in the evening on a Wednesday night. My cell phone rang. Glenn's face came up on the phone. And I said to my husband, I said, "This is Glenn Sanford, the founder of EXP calling. I should probably take this." My husband said, "Okay." It's later in the evening. And I took the phone and went into another room and had, about a 45-minute conversation with Glenn and Leo. And actually, Glenn didn't tell me Leo was on the phone until well into the conversation, but we just caught up about what was happening in the business. Um, and and Glenn invited me, like he said, "I want to talk to you." He said, like, I want you to come work for us. He says, like, "Now is the time." He says, like, we are doing some things. We are at the next chapter. We need your leadership. Like, I'm going to be, at that time, I was living in Southern California. He's like, I'm going to be in Southern California. Come talk to me. Um, and that led to me joining shortly thereafter. The timing was right. And Sam, to directly answer your question, I have followed and believed in the vision of this company from the beginning, and it was an honor to get that call. And when I sat down with Glenn immediately after that call and learned about what we've come to call, as we've painted out the vision, EXP 2.0, as we began that conversation of this next chapter. So at that time, we were sort of, entering, we were at 14 years going into 15 years of this company. That's a pivotal time of a company's, a
Absolutely. Yeah.
disruptive, high growth company moving into not wanting to stall in growth, but go to the next chapter of hyper growth. And a lot of companies don't make that pivot. And that was not something Glenn was going to let happen to this company, to his vision, this amazing company that he's built. So when I sat down with him and got to have a conversation with him about the next 15 years and what he envisioned happening, and EXP India is a big part of that. And Sam, that's part of why your leadership is here. Is I was like, yes, I want to be part of that. And I'm so happy that all of you want to be part of that, because you're a big part of this EXP 2.0 next chapter.
Absolutely. And by coincidence, when I came into EXP, of course, I had my beginnings at Remax, and I spent over 15 years at Remax, and brought in the franchise as a founder into India, and spent 15 years building it to what it became at some point of time. And unfortunately, uh, pre-COVID and during COVID, it went to in whichever direction it is today. But one of the things which I saw when I came in to EXP, when I was there last year in Miami, I was at the World Congress of Miami Realtors I'd been invited as a speaker, and I went there as well as to NAR Next in Boston. And when I was speaking at both those places, I came upon some of our current colleagues, and of course my sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor. And when they said EXP, I said, fair enough. I mean, I believe it's very similar to Remax. And they said, well, it's not. Why don't you hear from us what it is? And I was amazed. I was bowled over, and I realized that, you know, I started this in 2009. My journey with them in 2009, and around about the same time as when Glenn founded EXP. And I was wondering. I said, maybe if I had just been in his first 100 agents, I'd have a different lifestyle right now.
Mhm.
I'd probably have a nice house in the Bahamas, and in New Zealand, and all the lovely places that I'd love to have homes in. But of course, I think the the opportunity that you get in an organization like EXP is almost, it's hard to imagine what it could be without EXP after these 6 months. I'm totally bowled over. So, uh, you know, kudos to what you guys are doing. I think the last 1.5, 2 years, you've been doing that, of course, and Glenn and Leo have been doing this for a long time. And by coincidence, we call this India 2.0, EXP India 2.0, ever since I've come in, and
Mhm.
I'm building on the 2.0, and and it's wonderful to hear you talk about EXP 2.0 as well. So fantastic.
That's great. That's great. And it is, I've heard this notion of, if only I had gotten in sooner, earlier. And it's never too late.
It's never too
And
late.
and here in the US where we are more mature, right, celebrating our sweet 16. I mean, I have met agents who have joined EXP just in the last year, just in the last 2 years that have been able even in here in the US again, I'll reference that because of the geography here. We're in a very challenged real estate market here right now. The worst market that we've been in historically in a very, very long time. But despite that, we have agents who have built production businesses stronger than what they've ever had in their careers and have built revenue share lines that are providing them with income that's allowing them to have a lifestyle that they haven't had ever before. So it is never too late, which is, I think, a myth that is great to be able to see people change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we will talk about that also as we go along. Of course, we're at really the base in India. We're at a very low base, so it's easy to spring up from here. And I know so many uh, agents, so many business partners that have been on my podcast and
Mhm.
have spoken about the fact that somebody's been there for maybe 6 years and built his first downline or the level one downline of 83 agents, but has 1,400 agents overall in his downline. And what is even amazing is that he's able to get a huge revenue share on a monthly basis, a large 6-digit revenue share. I'm sorry, 5-digit revenue share on a monthly basis, just because of the fact that he's done it right. But still, it's been only 6 years. It's not been 16 or it's not been 10 years. And
Right.
so it can always happen if you're focused in building not only a transaction business, but also your downline. The sky's the limit, really. So let's talk about your personal branding. Let's talk about X Factor. You've created platforms like X Factor Marketing and appeared on, personal branding. So tell us more about it. What inspired you to create these, and how they've shaped both your own journey as well as that of the agents. Would love to hear that from yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I told you a little bit in the backstory that I've always sort of been in the room since particularly social media started to change sort of the world of marketing. And we'll go way back to the beginning of, the social platforms. So back to the days of when Twitter launched. I was like on Twitter, like one of the first sort of when you could first sign up for Twitter as a social platform. Um, and I always knew and always believed in real estate that your personal brand mattered. So I've
Yeah.
always been an advocate, even before it was, I'm going to say, a thing, right? So Sam, if you go back in, our days, like there was a time where we as agents, right, in a Remax world or in a Century 21 world or a Coldwell Banker world, if we could put our name on a lawn sign, that was about all we could do, right? It had to be
Absolutely.
those other brands that were
Yeah.
profiled the most.
And you could never have your corporate name in it. Uh,
Right.
you know, I was
Right.
just talking to somebody. You could call yourself Hallmark. You could call yourself Metro. You could
Yes,
call yourself anything but your company name.
anything.
Yeah.
But I always knew that when we were working with buyers or sellers, they made the decision on who they were going to work with based on us as the agent, right? The know, like, and trust. So the brand of the agent themselves. So
Right.
as social marketing began to become a thing, I really like saw those opportunities start to explode from a branding perspective and began to learn and study and lean into that. So much so that I called myself and my social handles at brand Wendy. So for those of you who would like to follow me online, please go follow me. You'll find me on all the social platforms at brand Wendy. I'm still at that today, all these years later. I've always been, because I believe in the power of personal branding. And in our industry, I believe that you build your personal brand first. And your brokerage brand, so EXP being your brokerage brand, our job is to help power your personal brands. And that partnership is where you really get amazing leverage from. So that's how I see the two working together, your personal brand and your brokerage brand. So when it comes to X factor and what we've sort of been building around sort of the X factor is obviously EXP, that made perfect sense. But I believe that all of us have an X factor. And an X factor is that certain something that makes us unique, that makes us special. And that ties into our personal brand. So when we think about building a personal brand and what makes us different from one another, what makes a buyer or seller choose to work with Sam over choosing to work with Wendy, over choosing to work with Anil, over choosing to work with, Rick, over choosing to work with somebody else? It's the X factor that each of us have. It's that certain something that they connect with on each of us that says, I'm going to choose to work with that. That is part of personal branding. And when we lean into that X factor and we start to build our brand around that X factor, that is where we find our superpowers. And that is where the power of marketing and branding lives. So if I can help you through what I do in X Factor Marketing Podcast and through the content that I put out there on social media under my sort of personal branding, under Brand Wendy as sort of educational content, that is my job as your CMO, is to help educate and provide value to all of you that hopefully you can learn from and use to help build your personal brands, to help build your business. So that is like what drives me when I think of what content I create and put out there on the social channels. I'm trying to provide value to all of you, to provide inspiration to all of you, to help you build your brands, to help you build your businesses. And hopefully to provide some inspiration along the way and maybe just get you thinking about some things too, that will help you in your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's wonderful. And Wendy, I have to say this: when we were looking at the deck that is being presented, I read this very interesting thing, which is there in the second photograph. It says, and I'll just read that part. Like, just keep going. Most people do 3 podcast episodes and quit. So I
Yeah.
just want to tell you, I'm on my 8th one. So, and all live, and I'm not quitting. I'm not a quitter. So
Good
I'm
job.
good strong. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
let's talk about that for a second, Sam, because um, I mean, that principle, right, applies to a lot of different tactics in marketing, right? And um, that we start something, right? We have an idea, whether it's a podcast, whether it is online ads, whether it is another sort of campaign that we're going to do. So you can insert whatever the idea is. The principle is, though, is that we stop too soon before the results have the opportunity to show up. And then we
Absolutely.
say, well, it didn't work. And then we go on to the next idea. And then we put a lot of time and energy into the starting, and then we stop too soon. And then what happens is we stop starting, and then we say, nothing is working.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is where we see a lot of burnout happen. and we see a lot of discouragement happen. So it's not in the that we don't have good ideas or we don't know what we're doing. It's that we don't stick with it long enough to reap the rewards. So when I'm coaching with agents and when I'm, digging into, people's businesses and looking at them, follow the analytics and look at the data of what you're doing. And then whenever you feel like I need to stop this, keep going a little bit longer. Because it's probably that it's not that you need to stop, it's that you need to refine what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
in the refinement. It's not in the stopping. It's in the refinement that the true opportunity comes from what you're doing. So look at refining, don't look at stopping, and then look at the how Sam, I know that you've had this. How often have you been sitting in a room and you've heard people talk like at a conference or at an event and somebody talks about doing something and then you hear people say afterwards, I used to do that. And for some reason, I stopped. It worked
Absolutely.
really well for me. I wonder why I stopped doing that in my business.
Absolutely. About 15 years ago, thereabouts, maybe I'm wrong with the dates on the years, but around that time, I read this book called 3 Feet Away from Gold. And that's what, very inspirational. What you're talking about is really that don't stop digging because, you might just be digging a few feet away from that treasure that
Mhm.
you've been looking for. That's so true. You've got to be relentless in your objective. You've got to remain focused. And as long as you are, you'll definitely succeed in your goals. So don't change your goals. Don't change your goal post. Like you said, if you can't go it in one direction, revise, rehearse, and retry.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Sam, you know why most people stop? They stop the reason they say they stop is because they're not getting the results. And that is almost a false reason. It's like a false positive. The
Absolutely.
reason people stop is they get bored,
So
right?
true.
So if we take the podcast statistic that we have here, it's when you start, it's fun and it's new and it feels energetic and cool. But then once you get into it a little bit, it starts to feel monotonous, right? It's like, okay, this is actually work. And then if you don't become famous or all of a sudden it doesn't turn into a whole bunch of sales and all the whatever magic you thought were going to happen from, the start of the initiative doesn't happen, that magic doesn't show up, then it just becomes work and then it just becomes monotonous and boring. So then you're like, well, this isn't all the fun I thought it was going to be. So then you stop and you move on to the next shiny thing. And we've heard that analogy often, right? We move from shiny thing to shiny thing. So
Absolutely.
so don't do that shiny thing to shiny thing. Like pick the things and refine them and stick with it. Like that 3 Feet from Gold, is that the book?
That's the book. That's
That's
right.
the book. I've got to look up that book. I like that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what it is. If you we talk about taking a hammer and hitting it on a rock, and you hit it all over the place, it's not going to break. But if you just chip away in say that 1 or 2 centimeters of space, then it's going to break ground at some point of time. And it's that last stroke that actually breaks it up.
Mhm.
And so you've got to have that last stroke. If you don't, it's never going to crack up. It's never going to break.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So you've spoken about partially about what inspired you to create these, excellent personal branding platforms. How do you think they help you in your journey? From over the last 15, 20 years, and especially how would it help other agents in the EXP system or even those that are not in our system?
So I'm a big believer in this is going to sound like a cliche phrase, but it's true. I'm a big believer that the best leaders walk the walk and talk the talk. And here's what I mean by that is that as a leader, we can lead best if we are doers as well.
So
And I think that when I can bring my best self to all of you is when I am like living in truth with all of you. So when I am, your marketing leader, I am actually marketing with all of you and branding with all of you. So when I am marketing out on these social platforms and talking about building brand on these social platforms, which is, this topic that we're talking about, I'm doing it with you every day. I'm putting content out there on Instagram. I'm creating content. I'm waking up in the morning figuring out, just like all of you do, of like, what am I going to post today? What am I going to talk about, right? Like I'm answering those same questions that all of you like ponder with like all the time. And I do this myself. Like it's like so I am living and breathing it with all of you. I'm understanding like what are the algorithm changes that, the platforms are, what performs on LinkedIn versus Instagram, what is going on with TikTok, how is Facebook changing, what is Meta thinking about. So I'm able to lead our marketing team through a space of authenticity. I'm able to work with all of you in our network through a space of authenticity. So I think that like walking in these shoes is a very important leadership space. That also goes down to the fact that like I also still maintain my real estate license here in the US. So like
fantastic.
I
Yes.
right now like here in the US we have to um so I have my license in California. Every 4 years, you have to complete continuing education to renew your license. Right now, I'm
Beautiful.
doing my continuing education credits. Like I have to do
Look
that
at
just
that.
like every
Outstanding.
other licensee, right?
Outstanding. Simply outstanding.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you have time for all of this. How
Yeah,
many
so
hours
I mean,
do you
so we're
sleep?
literally walking the walk, right? Leo has his license, Glenn is licensed. Like that is a unique factor about our EXP leadership team. The
Yes.
other leaders, Sam, you came from a Remax world, right? The Remax leadership team were never
Mhm.
licensed, right? So we have a unique culture here at EXP that was very important to Glenn when he was putting together this team to take us into this next chapter of EXP 2.0. He was very specific in how the vision he had for this next chapter of hyper growth was that we are in a very different time and place for the industry and the market, and
Absolutely.
I mean there's a lot to unpack there, but it is a uniqueness about our team and about our leadership style that we very much believe that um, there is an X factor in understanding the business at that very instinctual level that is something that we can bring that our competitors can't, and that is a superpower that we have, that we lean into every day all across the globe, in our quickness to make decisions, in understanding what is happening in the market, in understanding the tools and services that will work for all of you, in understanding how to leverage AI as AI is changing the world at a rapid pace, more so than we ever thought possible. We need to be
Absolutely.
able to understand where those opportunities lie and what will work and what won't work. And knowing how a real estate transaction works and how we market ourselves and brand ourselves effectively as agents allows us to make the right decisions because we are street smart and not in theory know how the business works. And that's a very different understanding of our industry that we have here at EXP.
It's outstanding. It's outstanding how, you know, how this entire thing is thought through, because in most brands, and I know for the brands that I've worked with in the past, um, marketing was all about advertising, and that's it. The some few marketing collaterals here and there, a little bit of Facebook, but to go into, agentic influencers, go into AI, uh, you know, I go into geo and so many other things that are coming up. I think you've got to be doing what you're doing. Understand real estate, understand how transactions work, and understand marketing. If you know both the things, I think there are very few people, at least I know in the industry, who've done that. So kudos to you, Wendy. You've done a fantastic job of that. Um,
Thank you. Thank you. It's changing very rapidly.
yeah, and before I click to the next slide, I just want to say this. I love that statement also. Your brand, your business, your way. I think this is really phenomenal. So you're obviously doing this. I'm sure you're making this statement and saying, stand out with personal branding, because
Mhm.
it's all about, it's you, your brand. You are your brand. In fact, the business is yours, and we're doing it your way. So I think it's a phenomenal, very strong statement that you're making. Amazing. So let's talk about social media. How essential do you believe social media is for an agent's success today?
I believe it's essential. Like
Absolutely essential,
full
right?
stop, it's essential. So, I mean, think about it. These phones, I mean, this is what people walk around with. This is how people consume content, right? It's the first thing that we grab in the morning, like when we wake up. It's the last thing that we look at probably before we go to bed. It is how we consume content. So, being on those screens is essential to build mind share, and building mind share, staying top of mind for your sphere of influence, your buyers and sellers, your customers, is how that leads to building market share. And people consume content through the social media platforms. So you want to be on those social media platforms to build mind share, to build market share.
Fantastic. And you're of course, um, so regular and so structured on both LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the ones that I follow you on. Um, this is the consistency and the pattern that you're working on. Um, what advice do you have for the Indian agents? We are, I would say, at times, you know, introvert. We're a little shy about talking about ourselves, or what we're doing, etc. So what would you advise us to do, um, to showcase not only ourselves but our business as well, and promote ourselves and grow our business? Let the market know who we are and what we do.
My best advice is to think about the questions that you get asked every single day and start with that as a source of content to post about. So it doesn't have to be about you. And you don't have to make it sort of bragging or boisterous about you. You can make it about sort of what you do and the questions you get asked. So, particularly think about the clients that you work with. What questions do they ask about what's happening in the real estate market? And it could be all the questions about, how do I buy property? How do I get financing? How does a closing work? How do all the questions around a transaction? Like I would just sit down and write out questions like that. Go to ChatGPT and ask, the top 10 questions that buyers or sellers ask about real estate in your market, and make it specific to the geographical market that you work in. And then begin to develop content around that. And you can make that your content. And then you can sprinkle in content about you, But if you're uncomfortable talking about you, what you're doing, start there. And then you can start to pivot as you get more comfortable. Um,
Yeah.
and then, so that is one, we call them content pillars. So that is one content pillar is start to answer questions about how to, buy, sell, about the market. And then the next one is more like geographical based. So if you work in a certain market area, I always recommend pick at least three different markets that you work in and post content about those three different markets. What's happening in the market, developments in the market, schools in the market, businesses in the market, community events in the market, house prices in the market, trends in the market, like anything that's happening in that market, talk about those market areas. Become like that local market expert. And be like think of yourself as the community reporter. Like this is Wendy reporting on Scottsdale, Arizona, right? Like I want to let you know, like so here in Scottsdale last Friday and Saturday night, we had huge rainstorms, right? Like people get stuck in flash flooding. Here in my neighborhood, we had like extensive damage in that flash flooding. I might write a post on that. And I might say, like, luckily, no homes were damaged from the flash flood. Like, that could be a post. So I'm not
Yeah.
talking specifically about real estate sales, but I'm saying as a real estate professional, no homes were damaged. It's a tough time, like to show homes. Open houses were canceled on the weekend. Like, I could take
Yeah.
a perspective about that. I might even take a picture of me like in my raincoat, baby, like running like to the car, like, not a great day to be a real estate agent, like in the torrential downpour. Like, so I
To
could
stay
get
committed.
creative, right? That's where you can start to like get creative with it. So that could be another content pillar. So you can start to think about things like that.
And you could actually, if I may say, you could also talk about your neighborhood and be the subject matter expert or the specialist of your neighborhood. You
Yeah,
know, if you've got a lot of Indian clients, where do you get good Indian food? It's some good Chinese food, or where could I find some carpenters? Where the rains have damaged my home. Where could I get people who could actually take the water out?
exactly.
Things of that sort to
Yeah.
because it's not only about the greed of real estate or buying or selling of real estate is not the only reason why you do that, because if you do for your community, do service for your community, you're going to get it back, because the guy will have a recall and say, hey, you know what, I remember that lady. She told us that we should go to XYZ services to get the water out. Why don't we contact her? Because we want to buy a new house, we want to upgrade or downgrade or whatever.
Yes.
So I think those are great opportunities as well. Yeah.
Yes. I want to address, Sam, if we can, Anil's comment, which I think is why not Facebook? I say Facebook as well, and I'm also very active on Facebook. What I recommend to agents, if you're just starting out, pick one platform that, like, if you're just starting out to social media, pick one platform and start posting and start working there. Then add a second platform. So, like, pick one or two and pick a platform that aligns with you. Like, if you already have a little bit of a presence on Facebook, if you already have some friends, start with Facebook. And then start by making a commitment. I'm going to post 3 times a week, right? If you're not posting at all, right? I'm going to post 3 times a week. Then move to I'm going to post once a day. So say I'm going to post 3 times a week for the next month, and then do that. And then once you do that, say, I'm going to post 4 times a week for the next month, and then do that. And then you could move that up to like, I'm going to post once a day for five days a week, and then do that. So build a cadence for yourself. I think of it as like building an exercise program. It's like starting to go to the gym. You don't say when you're starting an exercise program, I'm going to go to the gym every day and work out like an hour a day, right? Like you work up gradually. And you want to work up gradually. So pick the platform that most aligns with you. That platform might be LinkedIn. You might have more connections on LinkedIn. You might feel that the personality of LinkedIn more aligns with your personality. You write messaging and content differently for the different platforms. I write content differently on LinkedIn than I post on Instagram, than I post on Facebook. Some content can be similar across all three platforms. You just adjust it differently. Some content doesn't go the same. Some content that I put on Instagram doesn't see the light of day on LinkedIn. It's not appropriate for LinkedIn. So that
The
is sort
target
of a more, now we're getting into like the different layers of things. But if you're just starting, pick a platform and start there. Don't try to do 3 or 4 platforms at once. If you're just starting, start with one, start with two, and then build your way up from there.
Fantastic. That's really lovely. And because your target audience is very different in each one of them, your purpose, your mission is the objective is very different, as to why you're showcasing yourself there. So, of course, that's a brilliant idea. Thank you so much. So, of course, there will be some questions. We'll answer them as we go along. But the EXP brand, and by the way, you know, I'm, I was telling my team, I said, you didn't get the photograph where Wendy was also, because we were all here in Barcelona on the first day, and I can see myself
Way
hidden
back
by,
there.
yeah. So that's, Leo's sort of covering a side of me, and yeah, but I'm very much here, yeah. And of course, you see Leo here, the CEO of the organization, and Glenn. I think this is Glenn, right? Yeah, it is
Yes.
Glenn. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we've got a whole team here. So, Wendy, how has showcasing the EXP brand boosted credibility for agents in the US as well as globally?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we can showcase the brand, I think that it helps all of you as individual agents, and it helps what we would call the net effect of the global brand. And what I mean by that is that it gives sort of overall brand awareness. So, one of the things that we did at the beginning of 2024 here in the US that was something that we wanted to be a leading indicator towards our global expansion was we contracted with a PR agency here in the US that we wanted to get a lot more what we call tier one media here in the US. And what we mean by that are CNN, CNBC, Fox News, sort of the networks, the top tier
Yeah,
networks, news networks that cover the market and cover sort of the industry. And we wanted to get Leo as our spokesperson. So Leo Perea, our CEO, he is our sort of company spokesperson that speaks to those media outlets. We wanted to get a lot more coverage of Leo on those networks. Here in the US, we sell more transactions than any other residential real estate brokerage. We sold over 350,000 transactions here in the market in 2024. When those media outlets are looking to talk to an expert about what's happening in the real estate industry in the US, we want them to be talking to us. That's a natural alignment. So we hired an agency to say, like, get Leo on these shows, and we secure an outpaced opportunity more than our competitors last year. I mean, our main competitor here in the US for that opportunity would be Compass. So we track all of this. So we got Leo more opportunities than Compass on these top tiers. Now, what that does is it builds credibility. Now,
absolutely.
that doesn't necessarily get seen in your market, for example, but it does allow you to get sort of that global leverage through that. And those top tier media does expand sort of globally. Somewhere like CNN, that is a global network that can
Absolutely.
go
Yeah.
through that. The other thing that we're expanding on moving into 2026 as we are expanding on sort of our EXP 2.0 vision is our PR agency has global reach where we have, PR agencies in global countries where we can now expand PR opportunities. So there are campaigns in the work as we move into 2026 that I'm excited about. So you'll be hearing sort of more about that. So there are, really great ways that we can leverage what I call sort of the anchor country, which is the US, where we're, dominant in. We can take what we have built through the anchor country and leverage it across the global countries that we are growing in. The the world cares about the growth that is happening in countries like India. The
Absolutely.
market, as a publicly traded company, the market cares. And when we are on calls with the analysts here in the US and we're coming up on earnings, our quarterly earnings for Q3 is coming up here in just a few short weeks. We actually closed the quarter yesterday. So when we're talking to analysts on the public side, because we're a publicly traded company, they want to talk about our global expansion and they want to know like how it's going with all of you. So there's a lot of tremendous things in the works as we think of India 2.0 and EXP 2.0.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. There's a lot of similarity. And, when I came in, we did a lot of these, whether it was India 2.0 or even PR for that matter. So we are doing a lot of PR in India as well. We've got, a team helping us reach various quarters, various parts of the country, because this is a very large, diversified country. And while we put focus on a few cities specifically, a few territories that we're working on in terms of growth when it comes to agent attraction, when it comes to transaction dominance. Then we're working on a few cities because we want to make those large cities as the most well recognized
Mhm.
for the EXP brand through, of course, social media on one side, marketing on the other side, and of course, agents moving into the moving in and working closely with the developers. But it's very similar to what you're doing, and of course, there's a lot of learning that's going to come in when we meet in Miami. I'm sure there's so much that EXPCon will teach us. Going from what happened in Barcelona, this is going to be much, much bigger than that. So, looking forward to that. Uh, Another question that I have is uh, why is consistency with EXP brand guidelines so important in building professionalism? Because we've spoken about brand guidelines. I know that in my previous organization we followed brand guidelines.
Mhm.
EXP also follows it. So people have many times asked me, why is it so important to follow them? Why is this consistency so important? And how does it show professionalism? If you could show some light in that.
Yeah, I think that the consistency is important. But I would preface that by saying our guidelines are very liberal, right? So we want you to build your agent brand first. So when we talk about our brand guidelines, it's really around our logo itself, right? So we don't want you to alter anything around the EXP logo. Other than that, like our brand guidelines are very flexible for you. So we have given you great consistency to build your own brand around that. But we don't want you to decide that you want to change the look of the X in EXP. That logo needs to be consistent because that's the recognizable mark that needs to be consistent across the globe so that whenever anyone sees that, they're like, oh, okay, EXP. Like we need to keep that visual identity consistent for brand recognition. And so that is why that is important, is just that imprint of like visual brand recognition across the globe. So that is why that builds trust and builds recognition. And yeah, that is the main part of that.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. So, uh, how do you balance your own voice with that of EXP's corporate? Because there is brand Wendy, and then there is brand EXP.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you manage to balance both of them?
I think that's an easy one. Because my personal voice and the brand voice are very much aligned,
In sync,
in
absolutely.
sync, right? Or else like I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, yeah,
Um and I believe so much in our mission here at EXP. And our mission and our belief is to be the most agent-centric real estate brokerage on the planet. Like that is what guides us every day. And I have always believed that is what a real estate brokerage should do. Our job is to serve all of you as agents. As your brokerage partner, as your business partner, we should be living and breathing and figuring out as your leadership team how to help you make your businesses stronger, better, make your job easier, more efficient, support you every day. So, like, that is my personal mission. And that is EXP's mission. So that alignment is just perfectly fits together. So that makes it really easy for me to have my personal voice and my corporate brand voice very much in alignment. And that is really fun to be able to like wake up and like just like live and breathe that every single day. And what is like equally as amazing is I get to work alongside Leo Perea and Glenn Sanford and the entire leadership team, who are equally as aligned in that mission and that energy and that just like passion. And like that is just like phenomenal. Like it is really 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 fun.
amazing, amazing. A question comes to my mind that we have a lot of agents in India. There are some agents who, of course, don't uh, put themselves out on any social media whatsoever, and it's a task to for them to come out and say that, hey, I'm on social media, and you know talk about themselves or their brand. But there are others who are extremely or fully immersed on social media. They do walkthroughs, um, they showcase their products, themselves, etc. For the second group of people, uh, how do you explain to them that by standing alongside EXP, you would actually further enhance and grow your business. So you don't have to alienate the global brand or EXP, and just promote yourself. But if you collaborate and co build, it'll make more sense. So, how would you do that?
So can you clarify for me that second group you feel they don't want to identify that they're with EXP in the branding and marketing that they're doing?
No, it's not that they don't want to, they would feel that they feel that they are, as in their local markets or in the micro markets, they're better known than EXP. So why add EXP to it? What is the benefit that they'll get?
I think I would first say to that that they may be better known, and that's a great thing in their local market. But by adding EXP to that, what they may get the opportunity for is a greater reach beyond their local market. So there
Absolutely.
could be, just something as simple as, a hashtag or a collab with, another EXP account. There could be an EXP agent in another market that is following that hashtag or following that account that could see that could have a referral for that local market or could have a co-sponsor opportunity for a agent, an attraction agent opportunity that might not even be aware that that agent is in that local market. So there are relationship building opportunities on the production side and on the rev share side that you just don't know because you're not putting yourself out there for that. So I would say that you don't know what you could gain, but you do know that you're never going to know what there is to gain by not, doing the
They're not
opportunity.
posting it
And
out
you
there.
absolutely have nothing to lose.
Absolutely. So I would say that, while real estate is very local in terms of the properties and your local knowledge is important, but your clients, the market for those properties is absolutely global. And
Yes.
when you are in almost 30 countries, and you have, you know, say 89,000 less yourself agents to help you promote your property, why would you not connect and add and co-brand and therefore let the whole world know that your property is available in the market?
Yes. And that is the just remarkable thing about the online world is you just do not know how people are going to find your content. Um, I heard a
Absolutely.
story earlier this year from one of our agents in Sacramento, California. So that's Northern California. And he shared with me that he just started, and he shared this story in March of this year because I was up in that market doing a live event with our agents there. And his New Year's resolution was, and here in the US, we do these New Year's resolutions, was to start doing video on YouTube. And this was a gentleman, Sam, that was probably one of the last people you would expect is going to do video on YouTube. So he's very much pushing his comfort zone, had been in the industry 20 plus years. And he just like took his phone, turned it side, like did landscape and just started doing YouTube videos. He had
Wow.
done 5 YouTube videos. They did not get very many views. He had put it up on his YouTube channel, but an a agent from Europe, and I think it was England, if I'm remembering correctly, somehow came across this YouTube video on a little winery listing that he had gotten. And this area of California has some wineries in it. He has no idea how or why this person managed to stumble across this YouTube video that had like 37 views or something on his like little YouTube channel. It ended up resulting in a sale.
Wow.
I mean, like, what are the odds of that like happening? And so he pulled me aside and like shared this story, and he was just like, he's like, I can't believe it. And like he did no editing, no nothing. He just like turned the phone, landscape, walked around sort of part of this property and posted it on YouTube and, got the outreach and, got the referral and it ended up in a transaction. So,
You don't need 3,000 views, the 38th view,
yes.
and bingo, you've got a sale.
Yeah. So to those agents, like tapping into the global EXP network, you just don't know what that could result in and what's the downside, right? It could end up resulting in opportunities for you. So I would rather take that upside potential than not.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Absolutely. Thanks for clarifying that. And I totally endorse that. So, uh, how have you seen EXP's brand communication evolve globally? And where do you see us heading in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, I mean, 3 to 5 years in today's
Or
climate is
15?
like that. I wish
Yeah.
I could answer those questions. I would be on one of those
The
islands
future
on
there.
a like a yacht that you described at the beginning because things are moving so quickly. So I don't even hazard to guess like 3 to 5 year predictions. Certainly, I think AI is changing everything. AI is changing things at a speed that we didn't even expect, 90 days ago. So we are very much adapting quickly to the opportunities that I think AI brings our business, and I would say brings our business as entrepreneurs, as real estate professionals, as marketing professionals. Um, and that is going to continue to evolve. And I saw in the chat, some comments on Chat GPT, and like uh, like that. Those lean into using the AI tools, but use the AI tools as your thought partners. So, like, absolutely, like, use AI to help you think through opportunities in your business, but remember that you are the thought leader in your business. And I think that this is, the evolution of how I think of, EXP branding, and how I think of, where our business will go, is that we will continue to be thought leaders in our business, and we'll continue to lean into the technology that is evolving to be our thought partners in the business. And that evolution and that partnership will help us scale opportunity quickly, and it will help us identify where there are open lanes in the business, and in marketing. And I don't know what those open lanes are going to look like, because like it is evolving so quickly. But what I do know is that the DNA of this company, the DNA of our founder in Glenn Sanford, and the DNA of our leader and CEO of Leo Perea, is to find those open lanes for us, and to find those business opportunities that we can all leverage. And that's what we'll be looking for as we, advance into the next, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. Definitely, it is a focus on global expansion. And I think that there is huge opportunities. The world is getting bigger and smaller all at the same time.
The same time. Absolutely. It's
All at
so
the
true that you don't, what was happening 90 days ago versus now, it's so different. Only 90 days. And very soon it'll be probably weeks, if not quarters. Things are evolving.
Yeah.
And
I mean, just
I
look
think,
at look at all of us like today, right? Like, to be able to have a conversation like this.
uh,
I mean, it's
uh,
just, phenomenal. Like, the ability of all of you to be able to build business and build, businesses with other EXP agents, like, anywhere in the world. Like,
it's
it is
amazing.
incredible to think the opportunities that we have. Like, you can build rev share lines with other agents in, 30 countries. Like, that's incredible to think, the
Uh,
magnitude of opportunity that exists.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's us being a cloud-based brokerage versus most of the brick and mortar brokerages. I think we've already been miles ahead of them, and I think those miles only get that distance is only going to get wider and wider, longer and longer as things evolve on the AI side. So it's really amazing. We're coming almost towards the end of the uh, session, and I think we've overshot it, but it's been so interesting that I lost track of time. So, Wendy, I know you may have other commitments, but we've got a few questions still to ask you. What I have is on, what happened? I just lost you.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sam? Yeah, Sam, Rick says your screen is frozen, but I'm still here. I think everyone else is still here. Thank you, Chandra. If anyone has any questions, if you want to type them in, I'll just answer questions. I think maybe Sam will try to log back in. So I'll hang out for a second, see if he gets back in.
Sorry about that. This is the internet in at our co-working center just crashed. It's 8:20. I think it's their signal to say, "Hey guys, it's time
Time
we
to go
leave."
home.
But anyway,
The
it
internet is
is
tired. It says I'm done for the day.
done for the day. Absolutely, absolutely. I was wondering what happened. I mean, I didn't do anything, and suddenly I was talking, and and all of us froze. So Well, I was talking about, so I'm so sorry. We were talking about the tools, um,
Tools.
and how is AI transforming the way EXP markets itself and helps agents with the tools that we're using?
But there is not a part of what we call it our value stack. So the value stack is really sort of all of the different types of tools that we have to support all of you. And there's not any part of that value stack that isn't impacted by AI. In some ways, like you may not even realize that a tool is using AI, but that is how pervasive, AI as a vehicle, as a tool has, just become in part of just our world now. So I'll take Canva and Slack because they're kind of the two biggest ones that are there. I mean, Canva has incorporated AI in so many different ways. I mean, you can go into Canva now and you can just you can type in just like plain language and tell Canva, I want to create an Instagram post to celebrate, an occasion. And AI, the
Absolutely.
magic of AI will help you, create that.
Yeah.
Canva has incorporated Google Veo directly into Canva, which is an AI video editing and voice editing tool directly into that. So there are so many ways that AI is incorporated there. Same with Slack. I mean, Slack has so many AI features and functionality incorporated into that. So we'll just continue to see all of those things. On EXP University, we actually will be launching in Miami. So you guys will all hear more about this, a new AI course for all of you,
Amazing.
that will be sort of, kind of be able to teach you on, various elements of AI because we recognize that we're talking a lot about AI and, we talk a lot about like, well, just use it. And then like maybe we
Absolutely.
would like to like have a little more of like the basics of like, well, tell us a little bit more about like how can I use Chat GPT better or Gemini or Grok or some of these like tools. So we've been developing some specific like how to's for you to use as a real estate professional, some of these tools in your business. So to run your marketing, to run the back end of your business, so like your transactions and your like different parts of your business. So I won't give away too much, but we have lots in the works on that. So
Absolutely.
more to come.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Absolutely. So I'm gonna rush to the end in the interest
Okay.
of time because I know
That
we.
would be great because I did miss one meeting and I do have another at the top of the hour.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We go finally to Wendy. Where do you see the future of EXP's brand, and what do you hope your own legacy as CMO will be for the agents worldwide? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the future of our brand, I mean, we've been very clear in our goal. Like, we have a very clear objective of 50,000 agents in 50 countries by 2030. That is our goal. We
Absolutely.
all have a very clear focus on that. We are working towards that. In terms of, my personal legacy and my part in that, I mean, I focus on just waking up every day and trying to help as many people as I can reach their personal goals. If I can do that every single day, that to me is just stacking, you know, personal touch points, and that's what I focus on. And that is at the end of the day what brings me so much joy is being able to help as many people as I can reach their level of success in however they define that for them, because I think success is a very personal thing for
Absolutely.
each of us. And I want to help people reach their level of success.
Absolutely. No, thanks so much. So well said, so well put forward. We are going to be at 50,000 agents, and we are going to be in 50 countries by 2030, if not earlier. The way our friend Felix Bravo is moving, he'll need more and more passports very soon. He's going across the globe, stamping countries, flagging
Yes.
countries, and we're seeing them on social media. I think he's currently between South Korea and Japan, or probably
Yes.
now in Japan by this time. But when I last read about him, he was, on Instagram, he was probably at the airport transitioning. Fantastic. So, well, we are on the most at the fag end of the session. I just want to let people know, that all those who are here, that I have a QR code on the left, which essentially has ways of contacting me, either on email or on social media. We have on the right another QR code, which is to connect with EXP India. And we have, something called EXP Explained, which is our business model. Should you be interested in joining up with us? I know some of those on the chat have already said we're interested in joining up. We have a video there also about EXP India and about EXP overall, so you can do that. And of course, you have brand Wendy, so you may just punch in @ brand Wendy, and you can go and connect with Wendy all across social media. I can assure you that all of us get literally news feeds from her on a daily basis. We really enjoy them. Very interesting, very informative. And Wendy, thank you very much. I don't know if you have time for a quick question, if there is anything which is pending, or, we can always ask people to send in questions, and, we can send them ahead to you. Should you be okay with that?
Yeah, yeah, please connect with me, online and reach out with any questions. I'll definitely answer them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, you can definitely join under me as well, Fatima. Um, and I think people are thanking you, Wendy, for your time,
Thank
like
you,
we all
everyone.
should, and I would want to do on behalf of everybody. Of course, thank you, guests, for being there. Thank you to all our business partners, to prospective partners, to have come and spend time with us. And as late as 8:30, we've shot. This is the first time we've overshot by 30 minutes. We're usually on time, but it's been so interesting. Totally lost it. By the way, there were so many other questions that I couldn't ask Wendy. But once again, thank you very much, Wendy, for your time, and look
Welcome.
forward to
Thank you,
seeing you very
everyone.
soon.
Have a great evening.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Goodbye. Bye.